The time by Caracas is 6 p.m. and this is CBX Business News. The business news headlines are brought to you by QMax Wealth Management, making more possible. A push for skilled workers, CARICOM food imports, and the World Bank cuts growth expectations. Good evening and welcome to CBX Business News for Monday, July 6, 2026. I'm Rashel Moncrieffe. Thanks for joining us. Coming up, the Jamaican government is developing a major skilled worker program as it looks to address labor shortages and support long-term economic growth. Also ahead, Caribbean community leaders are renewing their push to cut the region's multi-billion-dollar food import bill with a stronger focus on investments. And later, the World Bank has lowered its 2026 global growth forecast, citing rising geopolitical tensions, weakening demand, and persistent energy market risks. Stay with us as we unpack these stories and more right after the break. The local news is brought to you by Derrimon Trading, better from the start. The Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments. Welcome back to CBX Business News. We begin with government efforts to tackle one of the biggest constraints on Jamaica's economic growth, the growing shortage of skilled workers. The government has developed a proposal to attract skilled foreign workers while creating more employment opportunities for Jamaicans as businesses across several industries continue to face critical labor shortages. Minister with responsibility for efficiency, innovation and digital transformation, Ambassador Audrey Marks, says decades of migration have left Jamaica with shortages in key professions, including healthcare, education, science, and other technical fields. Speaking during a ministerial update earlier today, Marks says addressing those workforce gaps will be critical to expanding businesses and sustaining Jamaica's long-term economic growth.
What I'm saying is for the economy to grow, we have to face the population problem and the skills labor problem. However, we have 50,000 persons who are unemployed, and then we have maybe about another 50,000 or more underemployed. So we have to, so my thinking was, how do we balance that by making sure when we are bringing in persons into the country, we are also looking at ways that we will get Jamaicans employed and engaged in the economy. So it was a broad-based proposal.
Marks says the proposal extends beyond filling labor shortages. She says the government also wants to position Jamaica as a nearshore destination for global technology companies.
It also looked at how we could set up Jamaica as a location for large companies like Google, Amazon, to get their H-1 visa workers settled in Jamaica, because that program is also going to be cut in the United States. And if we can become a near-shore destination for these large companies to put their employees here in Jamaica, it could also be very good for our economy.
That was Jamaica's Minister with Responsibility for Digital Transformation, Ambassador Audrey Marks. The Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, JMEA, is seeking to tackle one of the biggest obstacles facing local manufacturers, the rising costs and limited availability of industrial land. JMEA Executive Director Kamisha Turner-Blake says the association is exploring the development of an industrial park as part of a broader strategy to help manufacturers expand while easing the burden of soaring land prices.
A part of the vision that we need to have here at the JMEA is to be able to solve some of the issues that we have. And again, we need to look at proposals such as creating a REIT for the association. There are lands available. We would have written to even the sugar company recently, because we know that, for example, Bernard Lodge and some other big plots are available for divestment. So we're doing the work, but we too have to be very proactive in trying to identify solutions and taking those bold steps in making that determination that we're going to take matters into our own hands. For example, buying plots of lands, coming up with that solution. Cecil, we have spoken, so please, I hope we can move forward with some of these ideas in the future to create an industrial park for the association.
Blake says the push extends beyond advocacy, revealing the organization has already engaged the government and surveyed members to help shape long-term solutions.
The cost of land is something that has been prohibitive to the expansion of many members, and it's something that we have been advocating about, where we would have written as far as to the Prime Minister to addressing that matter. We also wrote to the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, and instead of, addressing the matter, we were asked to do a survey. So if some of you recall last year, would have sent out a survey asking you to give us feedback on the demand for land, the size, the location, etc. That was to feed into the process of advocacy.
At the same time, the JMEA is urging policymakers to consider wider flexible work arrangements for non-essential sectors, saying the move could help ease traffic congestion and improve operating conditions for businesses that depend on an on-site workforce. Blake says reducing the number of non-essential commuters on the nation's roads would make travel more efficient for essential workers while helping businesses minimize delays caused by heavy traffic.
We have not put forward sound advocacy on the matter. However, just last week, though, Parliament would have invited us to present where they were looking at flexible arrangements given the gas situation. So Richard Coe would have represented us, where we noted that manufacturing is seen as one of the essential areas that, unfortunately, some of the jobs, people can't work from home per se. But we do agree that to ease traffic, we can engage other areas or some of the non-essential people to be off the road. So it's something that we can continue to advocate for.
That was JMEA Executive Director Kamisha Turner-Blake. In other news, trading in the shares of Atlantic Hardware and Plumbing Company has resumed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, JSE, after the company submitted its long overdue audited financial statements for the 2025 financial year, bringing an end to its trading suspension. The JSE says the suspension was lifted with immediate effect after Atlantic Hardware filed its audited financial statements for the year ended December 31, 2025. 2025, which had been due by March 31. The newly released results show the company remained profitable despite softer earnings. Net profit declined nearly 24% to 68.9 million Jamaican dollars from $90.5 million a year earlier, while revenue climbed almost 14% to 1.82 billion, driven by stronger sales. Gross profit also improved to 551.8 million Jamaican dollars, although higher operating costs and finance expenses weighed on the bottom line. The financial statements also reveal that Atlantic strengthened its balance sheet following its 2025 initial public offering. Share capital expanded to 499.9 million issued shares, while the IPO generated net proceeds of approximately 460.3 million Jamaican dollars, primarily used to reduce existing debt. Looking ahead, the company disclosed that it has already expanded into agricultural distribution through the acquisition of a local distributor's assets and distribution rights. Atlantic also refinanced its borrowings with a new 590 million Jamaican dollar loan facility at a lower interest rate, a move expected to reduce financing costs and provide additional liquidity to support future growth. We move to the latest updates from the JSE equities. In Monday's trading session, the JSE market activity resulted in the trading of 114 stocks, of which 40 advanced, 53 declined, and 21 traded firm. Leading the winners are Cygnus Real Estate Financial JMD, Elite Diagnostic Productive Business Solutions 10.50% Perpetual Cumulative Redeemable Preference Share, and West Indies Petroleum Terminal. While leading the losers are Epley Limited 7.75% preference shares, Main Event Entertainment Group, AS Braden & Sons Holdings 6% Class A preference share, and Lumber Depot. The main index advanced by 3,083.31 points to close at 358,663.13 points. The junior market index declined by 38.27 points to close at 3,037.96 points. It's time for the Market Education feature, brought to you by CARICRIS, Regional Ratings, Global Standards. In today's Market Education feature, we're discussing kiting. Kiting is a form of financial fraud in which someone exploits the time it takes for checks to clear in order to obtain unauthorized funds or credit. A fraudster typically moves checks between two or more bank accounts with insufficient funds, creating the false appearance that money is available. During the clearing period, they may withdraw or transfer funds before the checks are returned unpaid. Banks closely monitor for kiting because it is an illegal practice that can result in significant financial losses. That was the Market Education feature, brought to you by CARICRIS, Regional Ratings, Global Standards. And that's it for the local news segment. Please stay with us. The regional news is up next. The local news is brought to you by Derrimon Trading, better from the start. The Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, Tease the Senses, and Pulse Investments.
Caribbean Dreams, instant turmeric tea. What you put in is what you get out. What you put in is what you get out. Yeah. Build up your body, boost up your brain. Take on the world now. Say bye-bye pain. Caribbean Dreams, instant turmeric tea. Be good to you. Caribbean Dreams, instant turmeric tea. Distributed by Amalgamated Distributors Limited.
Welcome back. And now for the regional business news. CARICOM leaders are renewing their push to reduce the region's multi-billion-dollar food import bill, saying greater investment in agriculture, agro-processing, and intra-regional trade is essential to building a more resilient Caribbean economy. Opening the 51st regular meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government in St. Lucia on the weekend, CARICOM Chairman Philip J. Pierre says the region must expand food production, improve transportation links, and create stronger regional markets to reduce dependence on imported food.
Recent global events have underscored that food and nutrition security must remain a major priority for the community. It is unacceptable that a region with land, sea talent, and agricultural heritage continues to spend so heavily on food imports. We must support farmers, fishers, agro-processors, transport links, and regional markets so that more Caribbean food feeds Caribbean people. CARICOM has set ambitious goals regarding regional food security, and all we need is the will and determination to provide healthy and nutritional food to our people.
Pierre, who also serves as Prime Minister of St. Lucia, further argued that long-term economic competitiveness will depend on the region's ability to embrace digital technologies, artificial intelligence, and e-commerce, while developing a workforce equipped for new business industries.
The reality of digital innovation, e-commerce, and technological-enabled services must be utilized. Artificial intelligence is changing all aspects of our business and private lives. It is reality that governments must prepare for which appropriate policy measures must be taken. CARICOM must pursue a harmonized regional approach to AI to safeguard digital sovereignty and promote the ethical implementation of AI across its member states. Continued collaboration is essential to prevent the region from falling behind global standards and worsening existing technological vulnerability. The CARICOM labor force must upskill and re-educate to make use of these new opportunities.
That was CARICOM Chairman and Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Philip J. Pierre. CARICOM leaders are expected to continue discussions on regional food security, trade, transportation, and digital transformation as they seek to advance a more competitive and self-reliant Caribbean economy. Guyana is modernizing its medical supply chain with a new pharmaceutical distribution hub and an artificial intelligence-driven inventory system designed to improve the delivery of medicines across the country. The investment forms part of the government's effort to decentralize pharmaceutical distribution, shorten delivery times, and improve accountability within the public health system. President Dr. Irfan Ali says the new facility in Region 2 will help ensure medicines reach health centers more efficiently.
This drugs bond and others like it being established across the country will become the physical backbone of a new, modern health supply chain. For too long, our healthcare system, particularly in regions outside the capital, has been plagued by logistical challenges. This facility changes that in a dynamic way. It allows us to stock sufficient quantities of medicines to meet the specific needs of this region. And when I say the specific needs of this region, all of Region 2, in the Cameroon ring of all the health centers, health clinics, health outposts, all across.
Ali says the government is also pairing the new logistics network with an AI-powered inventory platform that will track medicine stocks in real time, improve demand forecasting, and reduce losses from expired pharmaceuticals.
We are partnering with a global expert to establish an AI-powered system that will provide us with real-time data to guide our decision-making. This digitization will be transformative. It will allow us to prevent waste, predict challenges, and plan ahead of every situation. Take, for example, today, if the Minister of Health wants to know whether a community is having a challenge with dengue, he is required to call and get information. Now, with this system, based on consumption, he can tell you whether there is a spike in a particular problem. And we are able to plan ahead of that problem and address that problem.
That was President of Guyana, Dr. Irfan Ali. In other news, Bermuda's Premier David Burt has reshuffled his cabinet as his government moves to speed up key economic and legislative reforms. The changes see Ryan Robinson, Parent-Chief, appointed Minister of National Security, Dr. Emily Gale Dill assuming responsibility for the Cabinet Office, Diallo Rabane taking over Education, and Alexa Lightbourne adding digital transformation to her portfolio. He says the realignment is intended to improve the government's ability to deliver on its policy agenda.
The people of this country expect us to be working at all points in time. If I make the judgment that we need a change to ensure that we can have delivery on the promises of which we gave, whether or not that is 4 months or 4 years, the people of this country expect work delivery all the time. That is what I'm committed to.
When questioned about the timing of the changes, Burt explains the decision was made to improve the government's ability to execute its legislative program and keep key reforms on track.
My view is what the government promises in our throne speeches, we should deliver in the legislative session. That is the system of government in which we have, and it is my judgment that we needed to make adjustments to give us the best chance to deliver the things of which we promised.
The Premier says the new team will focus on advancing education reform, digital transformation, and medicinal cannabis legislation, areas he described as central to the government's development strategy.
Also on matters related to medicinal cannabis, we have promised those and we must deliver them. And I look forward for those matters being advanced and have every confidence that the new ministers will be able to get those things done.
That was Bermuda's Premier David Burt. It's now time for news from the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 23 securities, of which 6 advanced, 8 declined, and 9 traded firm. Today's winners are One Caribbean Media, Trinidad Cement, First Citizens Group Financial Holdings, and Grace Kennedy Limited, while leading the losers are NCB Financial Group, Point Listas Industrial Port Development Corporation, Guardian Media, and JMMB Group. Trading activity resulted in the following movements. The All TNT Index declined by 4.08 points to close at 1,438.29. The Composite Index also declined, but by 9.58 points to close at 984.91. The Cross-Listed Index dropped 2.21 points to close at 69.86, while the SME Index remained at 79.28. And we take a short break, but please do stay with us. The international news segment is up next.
Mikey, is what sweet you saw?
Yeah, dear babes. Where's the Cathy? We are going to party tonight.
Party? You secure your future yet? Careless.
Did you know that over time, the stock market has provided a reliably high return on investments? Be sure to contact a licensed stockbroker for more information on this exciting investment opportunity.
Taking care of business, Mikey?
Yeah, Cathy. I'm securing my future. Want to come look over my stock portfolio?
The Jamaica Stock Exchange, providing a fair, efficient, and transparent stock market.
We get it. We get the big contract. 50,000 units a month for 3 years. Great. Won't need help.
If you are a business owner that requires capital for the expansion of your business, talk to a registered broker today to find out more about listing your company on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, an efficient alternative to other financing options.
Thank God for the Jamaica Stock Exchange junior market.
The Jamaica Stock Exchange, providing a fair, efficient, and transparent stock market.
Welcome back. In international news, the global economy is facing a sharper than expected slowdown in 2026, with growth forecasts revised downward amid rising geopolitical tensions and persistent energy market pressures, according to new analysis from the World Bank Group. Speaking in an interview on Monday, World Bank chief economist Dermot Gill revealed global growth expectations have been revised down from around 3% earlier this year to roughly 2.4 to 2.5%, reflecting broad-based weakness across both advanced and emerging market economies.
So global growth was expected to be about 3% this year. We're now down to about 2.5, 2.4%. And this is across the board. This is for advanced economies. This is also for emerging markets and developing countries.
Despite the weaker global outlook, Gill notes South Asia continues to outperform. India is expected to maintain economic growth above 6%, making it one of the world's strongest performing major economies.
South Asia, especially India, is expected to continue to grow at above 6%, which is fantastic, by the way. So I know that compared to last year, things don't look good this year in South Asia. But compared to other parts of the world, things look good in South Asia.
That was World Bank chief economist Dermot Gill. Meanwhile, fresh U.S. business surveys point to continued economic expansion despite softer hiring. Business activity across the United States continued to expand in June, although companies remained cautious about adding new workers. The S&P Global U.S. Composite Purchasing Managers Index rose to 51.9 from 51.5 in May. Manufacturing remained the stronger performing sector, while services activity also continued to expand. New business improved toward the end of the second quarter, with firms reporting a more optimistic outlook for the year ahead. Despite the overall improvement in activity, employment declined for a second consecutive month, suggesting businesses remain cautious about hiring. On the inflation side, input cost pressures eased slightly but remained elevated, while selling prices changed little from May. Both measures remain well above long-term averages, indicating inflation pressures continue across the private sector. And in commodity markets, gold prices slipped to $4,140 an ounce on Monday as a stronger U.S. dollar weighed on the precious metal. The decline followed weaker U.S. labor market data released last week, showing slower job growth and downward revisions to payroll figures for the previous 2 months. The softer employment data reduced expectations for additional Federal Reserve interest rate increases. Oil prices also edged lower as energy shipments through the Strait of Hormuz continued recovering, and prospects of higher OPEC plus production raised concerns about oversupply. Investors are now awaiting the release of the Federal Reserve's meeting minutes for further guidance on the central bank's policy outlook. Markets currently see a better than 50% change of a September, or rather chance of a September rate increase. Meanwhile, JP Morgan says demand for gold could be weaker than previously expected, forecasting the metal will average around $4,300 an ounce during the third quarter before rising to $4,500 in the fourth quarter. And that's it for the international segment of the newscast. The news recap is coming up on the other side of the break.
It's feeling so good right now. Feeling so good right now. Yeah, yeah. It's feeling so good right now. Feeling so good right now. Yeah, yeah. It's feeling so good right now. Don't never ever ever wanna calm down. No, no, no. Yeah, yeah.
And now to recap our top stories. In the local news, Jamaica's government eyes major skilled worker program to support economic growth. Regionally, CARICOM renews push to cut region's food import bill. And internationally, World Bank cuts 2026 global growth forecast amid rising risks. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Rashel Moncrieffe. Thanks for watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.